Hi, this is Dr. Randy Hurst, clinical psychologist, retired. I'm doing these videos to try to give people some basic information that can help them maybe intervene on issues in their own lives before they get bad enough that they might need to go get professional help. Hopefully, just understanding better can make sense enough to go through the things that it takes to make changes, because change is hard. This particular video is on expectations, especially that gap between performance, where you are, what you can do, and where you want to be, where you think you should be. Now, expectations are very important. If there's no expectations, it may set up for no movement. Why try if you don't have some reason to believe that you want to do more, you want to do better? Inertia is kind of weird that way. This is about physical objects, but an object tends to stay in the state that it's in. That's what they refer to as inertia. So if there's no movement, that object, that person, will tend to continue to not move. So an expectation can help set up for getting movement to happen, having a goal, having a purpose. And movement is a kind of energy, and inertia has an inertia that allows you to keep moving. And then if you're moving, you have the potential of, if you decide that there's some reason that you chose a path that maybe wasn't the best path, you can steer. Because what? You're moving. But if you're not moving, no matter what you do, you're not moving. So having expectations sets up for curiosity, learning, moving, doing, to meet goals. That's the good news. The problem comes if your expectations are too high, higher than you can reach. Think in a way of, say, in athletics, say a runner or swimmer. If you make a sprint, the expectation of your sprint being from the time you are to one that's 2 minutes faster, you either are really slow or you have an expectation that's way too high. You have to make the expectation seconds or fractions of a second sometimes to make it reachable, to give you the impetus to work hard to get to that. And then you can raise it just a little bit more. Keep that gap there, but keep it reachable. If it's unattainable, if it's just too high a gap, it sets up for such discouragement people can give up. Worked with a very bright kid a few years ago who just completely stopped trying and was brought to me to try to sort through what was wrong. And it took a little while to get to this, but what he ended up saying was, no matter what I did, my parents expected me to be that much better. And if I got to there, that much better. If I got to there, that much better. But it always felt like it was way out of reach. But he just marshaled all of his resources and he would get there and they would just raise the bar in a way that felt so high at some point. He just stopped trying. We can do that with ourselves. It sets up for tremendous stress. It sets up for giving in, giving up, depression. Perfection is a kind of expectation gap that is impossible. But people often will keep trying to be perfect, to have things turn out perfectly. And temporarily, or at times, it can get there. But then they want to even do more. And this is why perfectionism can really set up for huge stress in a person's life. It can almost paralyze people. Now, at the same time, it can motivate. And so this is one of those very tough places. Is it motivating in a way that is good for you, that really keeps you working? Or is it something that overwhelms, that stresses you, that prevents sleep, that causes a person to choke when it actually comes to performance? This is very tough because people can see it and use it in a good way, and then at some point have it overwhelm. So learning how to expect good and more, but also being able to accept without hugely degrading yourself, being angry at yourself, blaming something else. Those are common things that people will do. They'll go after themselves, or they'll go after some outside and blame and get angry with self or others. And that's a way where perfectionism can really harm. It can get in the way of working together with other people. And especially if your perfection is that they should be perfect. Oh, there's a real problem. So having goals that are reachable never prevents somebody from increasing the goal once they get better. But keeping it within reach and understanding that we can't always get there on our time frame will help make sense or just feel better about oneself and keep striving. Really seeking unattainable things sets up for stress, anxiety, fragility, giving up, depression. Decide for yourself. Are your expectations of you in general or in particular areas of your life too much? Are they ruling you? Are they harming you or relationships with others around you? Is there a way to make the expectation something that is attainable this week or this month, separate from your bigger goal, but something that you can reflect on the day? How did I do? Am I getting there? Am I getting closer to this short-term goal? That is what helps the gap not get out of control, from not stress you too much. Think the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. Because there will be some things that you just can't get there. The courage to change the things I can, in the form of having a short-term goal that's really reachable and a little bit longer-term goal that's still reachable, but you're focusing on just the short-term now. And the wisdom to know the difference. That's a tough one. Because sometimes we do really want to get something we can't get to. And all I urge is that by moving, by doing, by working at it, if you need to change course, you're moving. You can steer to a new thing. Just as a goofy example, I started college absolutely knowing I was going to be a chemical engineer. I absolutely hated it. I hated every minute of that early training. I wasn't particularly good at it. I did a couple dumb things, ended up eligible for the draft in the middle of the Vietnam War. I was able to change. I was lucky in the sense that I wasn't drafted and changed to another major that I also didn't like, but learned from the first time, changed directions, ended up doing what I'm doing now. And I've loved it for many years, which is really kind of the reason that I'm doing these videos, is that I found that these basic education things that should be practically free, instead of hours of time going to therapists, when this basic education, some people will be able to use it and not need therapy, and others will need therapy, and the basic education can provide a grounding that will help them understand where they're going, and will really help understand that the therapist, in a sense, doesn't fix us. The therapist helps us do the things that fix us. And that's the rewiring that I've talked about. But watch the other videos, see what you think. Hope this helps, and thanks for listening.